Welcome to Forfellinus, belysning.
You are not broken. You are out of balance. And there is a path home. This is Forfellinus belysning, from the Alaska upheld ancestral morning light for those who have been through hell and are still standing. This nonprofit has a sliding scale guidance at alaskauphednar.org/guidance. Forfellinus belysning begins now. Every day, someone's little girl, daughter, sister, girlfriend, fiance, wife, cousin, mother, auntie, grandmother, great-grandmother, elder, disappears, shattering a family, a community, the world. There is something we can all do. Remember them.
God morgen, and happy Tears Day to you. Today we celebrate the courage of tear, but I want to talk about the courage of care. This is a very important topic when we talk about our own mental health, separating us from being drawn into that which undermines us, can provide a mental struggle. So we're going to talk a little bit about care, and we're going to talk about care in two directions, obviously, for others and for the self, and how those two kind of interplay with one another. Before we get started today, I want to say a huge thank you to all of you who liked, followed, and subscribed us on whatever platform, and for those of you who join us each and every day. I can only begin to express my appreciation for you and taking time to hear this message, and hopefully it resonates and provides some level of illumination for you today, some ancestral opening of the eyes, as it were. So I want to also give a huge shout out to KWWP Radio, nonprofit radio, kwwp.org, available on the internet, wherever you get your internet. Plays music of cultural relevance. It plays just that music that, in my opinion, I keep it on the radio all the time here when I'm here at home or whether I'm traveling. It's a wonderful companion to just hear the songs and the music of our ancestors. So it's a beautiful channel. So do check them out, kwwp.org. I also want to give a huge shout out to my friends and my family at New Reality TV, newrealitytv.com. A wonderful collection of spiritual perspectives that resonates throughout all of humanity, to provide us with, hopefully, a piece of intellect and knowledge that can help us to grow and evolve into that better version of ourselves. Okay. Today I want to talk about the courage, and I want to talk about the courage of care in celebration of course, the god Þórr, and talk about the two facets of that, right? So first, we'll talk about the extrinsic care, and that's where we're caring about others, and we're beginning to. This is empathy at its strongest, where we're actually beginning to place value. Now, one of the things that recently I've had the blessing of doing some meditation and discovering the difference in perspectives as it applies to care or mercy, as it were. And one of the things I discovered is that as an individual, I am incapable of providing another individuals with mercy. And this one really I struggled with personally on my own front, because I always thought that when I provided someone with hospitality, with generosity, I was providing for them this thing called mercy. Well, as it would have it, as I discussed with my ancestors in trance, that's not what I'm doing. I'm providing care. I care about them. I've placed value in them, in those individuals. So my value in their care, I offer generosity, hospitality, empathy, sympathy, all of those things. I'm providing, right? But the second half of that equation now is how they receive it. I'm reminded of a story that is in an upcoming book that I hope that all of you will love when it eventually gets to the shelves. But in the story, it talks about the heroine of the story spares a king. He is a very vile creature, and she holds the sword above his head within reason and chooses instead to spare him. And when the hero of the story explains to her, he says, no, you cared for him. You cared that you didn't spill blood. You allowed him life. You spared him. But that's not the way he saw the situation. He saw the situation very differently, as in he was tortured, in this case, in the story, to continue living. Many of his soldiers and his armies had been destroyed, and so he was left essentially alone and kind of living instead of committing to this his objective at the time. And in the story, and so in my understanding, we come to this place where all we can do is care for one another. We can provide care, caring about other people's uncomfortableness, other people's lack of maybe some basic necessities, or just that level of comfort, whatever it may be. When we begin to reach that out and extend that care, we must remember that just because we're saying we care and we're doing these motions doesn't mean that the opposite, the recipient, is required to receive it that way. It was very eye-opening for me when this vision came to me, because here I thought, well, I'm offering this social definition of comfort, of hospitality, of peace. But maybe the other person received it as humiliation, as a slap, because they were unable to provide for themselves. And I thought about this. This goes back to the idea that we've spoken of before about perceptions. They were seeing it from a different perspective. And it dawned on me, maybe the greater part of the parable of the puddle, for those of you who have not been here for the parable of the puddle simply says 9 people gathered around the perimeter of a puddle. They're all gazing into the puddle. They see the puddle differently. They have different perspectives of the puddle. And then as all 9 people begin to shift around the puddle, they begin to see essentially from what the other person is seeing from. They're seeing the perspective. But the next level of that parable, I believe now, is the more important of the two. And this is when we turn to the person on the left or to the right, and we ask them, we inquire, and we say, what do you see in the puddle? Because now we know what they see visually, right? Because we've stood there. We know what their place is. But now as we begin to inquire and we begin to open that line of communication, now we're hearing not only what they see, but what they feel about that, of what that means to them. And we begin to create a true dialogue. We're beginning to truly break through that which we think meet some social bar, but yet we haven't done anything. Matter of fact, inadvertently, we could do more damage. I'm reminded in the beginning when earlier in my trances and in my visions, there was a wonderful, another trance, another vision, where I saw a loom. And the loom to me is a sacred piece, and it brings an understanding of much of life. But in this picture of the loom, one of the things that I was communicated with by the ancestors was this idea of rot, of where decay and rot took hold of the weave, and where the weavers, obviously, in the Norse beliefs, would have been the Norn sisters. In Greek, of course, would have been the Fates, who tended this loom and managed when the rots began to instabilize the weave. Their job was to kind of make that, to fix it, right, to fix the weave. And I very much thought about myself and the way I go through my life and interact with people, and it dawned on me that maybe in my travels, maybe in even in this presentation itself, I could be damaging another thread, another life in the weave, inadvertently, because I had some definition of love, of care, of courage, of concern, of hospitality, of all of these words. My definition was just different than theirs, and their definition that had meaning to them, and their meaning of that word to them was different than that word meant to me. And for the first time, I wondered, wait, have I been doing more harm than good? Have I been not being helpful? Which turned me to the other care. That was the care of the self. Many times we think of, particularly now, with the modern day conveniences, and we say, oh, this is self-care because I can put the little puffy things on my eyes and I can do the spa day. But is that care? Is that really care? Is that what your body, your mind, your soul, your spirit needs? I don't know that answer. I can tell you this. I don't need spa day. I'd love a meditation day. Love to spend time in understanding the ancestors and the weave and the loom. I could do that all day. The question we always have to ask now, maybe for the first time, is what is that other definition of care? We know what we think we know, but what does that mean from the recipient? Even the self. I want to take a moment to myself. I want to spend time with myself, just to calm, just to have that peace. But that's not what I need. What I need right now is to feel the warmth of another body, of an embrace, maybe, or just a pat on the shoulder. That's contradictory to what I just said. I said I wanted quiet, I wanted peace, but that's not what I want. Really. So truly understanding the other side, the recipient part of care, of generosity, of concern, of love. Truly understanding that means that maybe for the first time, we have to be willing to look at that definition and say, yes, it is a definition. It is my definition, but it is not the only definition. It is not the only meaning to that in existence. There are people who will think very differently than we do, who feel very differently than we do. And we need to have the courage to accept the fact that there are different definitions, there are different meanings, internal meanings to these states. It's a very interesting and certainly eye-opening understanding that the ancestors have offered me, is that in each state of care, whether it be internal care, caring for ourselves, or extrinsic care, caring for anyone else or anything else, there is both the sender and the receiver. And we have to understand the receiver as well as we do the sender. This is the courage of care. The courage to look past our definition of what care is and see what the other person's is. All right. Well, as you know, today's moment of communicating, we allow the gods to speak to us, to hear their voice, to allow them the opportunity to change the runes. And we draw a rune. Today's rune. Gebo. Gebo is today's rune. Gebo is a wonderful rune because it speaks firstly and foremost of a magical exchange. An exchange where the sender and the receiver are both receiving a touch of what is magic. Magic, as the Norse knew, was not always the wizards and the sorcerers that we see upon the Hollywood productions. Magic was each letter of the alphabet that was formed together to form words, to form sentences, to form paragraphs, to convey thought. That's magic. That is magic. So, magical exchange can be those words that you and I are passing back and forth. Or they could be another word whispered softly to someone who is standing on the cliff's edge of ruin, and whispers softly, "I'm here. I've got you." So, magic can be fairly simple. My friends, we need to take a very quick commercial break. When we come back, I want to talk about how we can put this on the road and apply it to our everyday life. So let's take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back.
Wear your signal. Australian t-shirts, prints, designs that travel well. On studio to street. Find your fit. Saying the week in this description.
It's happening.
It's in the air. The time is now.
We're all waking up.
We're waking up.
We're all waking up.
It's all shifting.
New vibrations.
It's you.
It's you.
It's me. It's all of us.
Together.
A new time.
A new day.
A new energy.
A new energy.
New reality.
Awaken with us.
Awaken with us.
Awaken with us.
NewRealityTV.com.
Brew a calmer day. Mountain Rose Herbs brings organic teas and botanicals that you can feel good about. Explore the blends. Find the link in the description below.
These words are stirring something heavy in you. You don't have to carry it alone. Sliding Scale Spiritual Guidance with sessions outside normal business hours is available through the Alaska Uphednar. Visit akulfhednar.org/guidance to book a free discovery session.
All right, hey, welcome back, and thank you for taking that quick break with us. As always, I want to say a huge shout out again to New Reality TV, NewRealityTV.com, a streaming channel dedicated to perspectives that can hopefully help us along our journey. I also want to give a huge shout out to Trinity Road Websites. They, of course, the sponsor of today's show. Trinity Road, wonderful collection of internet and website provisions that can help with any website. Of course, they are geared towards the Christian variety. So for those of you who are monotheistic in your practices and understand the one God that you recognize, by all means, check out Trinity Road's websites. You won't be disappointed. Also, I'd ask that you check out our website where we have all of our sponsors here, and as you may have seen, but you can check those all out at akumedia.akoutlaw.com/sponsors. Today we're talking about the courage of care, the courage of looking past definitions of maybe societal definitions, maybe generational definitions. All of these definitions that we have received via whatever platform are important that we understand that those definitions are for us. Those were meanings that were attached to particular situations that occurred to us. And those definitions may or may not apply to those around us. They also may not apply even to us anymore. Our definitions, like everything else in our lives, will change throughout our life cycle as we mature, as we change, as our environments change, as our people around us change, as all the things that are involved in our everyday life continues to change. So too do some of our definitions, because as we've spoken about in other shows, we should be farming those. We should be tending those and deciding, is this what I really mean? Does this apply today? Does this apply to this situation? Does this apply, generally to this person? So not only are we ongoing with our rock maintenance in our well of the self, we also need to take a moment, have courage. Have courage. Look past our societal definitions, our generational definitions, even our situational definitions. Look past those and determine from the individual, what is your definition? What does yours look like? If it's different, that's okay. That's really okay. But we have to meet them where they are. We have to be where they are for it to truly match their definition of meanings. Granted, they should be monitoring and maintaining their rocks as well, but we have to remember their journey is not our responsibility. So by us saying, oh, you should recognize this as care, you should believe that I care about you. No, they don't. We need to meet them where they are, not the other way around. We can't force people to believe, to think, to feel, to anything. I'm reminded one of the earlier channels that I had done with an ancestor of mine whom I loved dearly. We had spoken about things, and one of the statements he made that I have kept to this day was, nothing extrinsic can make intrinsic different. Only intrinsic can change intrinsic, which means nothing outside of me can make me think or feel anything I don't want to do. A lot of times we surrender. A lot of times we say, oh, that's just so horrible. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you have to understand it. You have to be able to recognize and say, wait, the imagery or the sounds or the smells or the taste or the feeling on my skin, that's how I'm interpreting it is unique to me. Well, that goes the same for other people. They have every bit the right to perform their definitions, to monitor and maintain their definitions their way. My friends, again, today we celebrate Tears Day. We embrace courage not only to recognize who we are and what we care about and what our meanings are, but what others are as well. And we recognize this idea that there are different perspectives, there are different meanings to everything, and we need to remember that the meaning that we have is no more right, no more wrong than the meaning they have. We have to meet them where they are. We have to recognize and appreciate their definition to truly embrace this idea of care. Right? My friends, I wish you the absolute best Tears Day. I look so forward to seeing you tomorrow, where we will meet again and discuss the wisdom of Wotan, who obviously many of you might recognize, would go on to become recognized by the Norse as Wotan. So I look forward to that. In the meantime, if you do have any questions, if there's anything that's stirring in your heart or your spirit, and you want to reach out, by all means, reach out to me at shaman@akulfhednar.org, and we can get a conversation going. and certainly make that happen. All right? I wish you the very best today, and we will see you again bright and early tomorrow morning. Love and light, my friends.
Fulfilling us. Una. Hjälp oss med. Magnify. Tu för og. Kaliot.
If what we've touched today hits something raw for you, you don't have to carry it alone. We offer a sliding scale spiritual guidance with sessions outside normal business hours. Visit akulfhednar.org/guidance to book a free discovery session.